Welcome back. It is Monday, May 11th, all right, 2020, and I do have to announce, fingers crossed, weather permitting, this is going to be one of our last exclusive indoor remote lessons, all right? We are going to be moving the quarantine kitchen outside to the deck, and we're going to be doing some grilling and chilling coming soon. All right, so please, Mother Nature, you have been pelting us with 7 straight weeks of doom and gloom and coronavirus and snow on Mother's Day and rain in March and like literally every single possible thing you could throw in your mixed bag of weather tricks. But we know that the sun always shines when it's nice, and we're looking forward to seeing that here real soon. So, weather permitting, guys, this is going to be our last exclusive indoor remote lesson going outside. So, it is kind of chilly out. It's pouring rain outside. So, it snowed 6 inches on Saturday. And I called my mother up yesterday on Mother's Day and said, geez, Mom, snow in the yard on Mother's Day. I don't know if that's ever happened. All right, so unreal. All right, shout out to all the moms out there. All right, none of us would be here without moms. Like, literally. That is a known fact. It is an impossibility to not have a mother. We all come from the ladies. All right, so shout out to all the moms. All right, we love you all. You know, you should have more than just one day to show how much you're appreciated in society. I know I appreciate my mother every single day that I wake up and I'm breathing. So love you, Ma. Love to all the moms. Okay, so today, guys, we are taking our Espanol sauce that we created last week. All right. Now you may be saying, Chef, what, last week? Why didn't you do this the next day? Ha! I froze the Espanol sauce. Now, is it ideal to do that? No, it's not. But is it something you can do? Absolutely. All right. Especially in our kitchen during quarantine time here, and we can't really get out a lot. And in most commercial kitchens, is we need to know how to stretch a dollar. We need to know how to secure our ingredients. And think practically, okay? There are things that you can freeze and preserve for later use, and that it's completely fine to do so. Now, there's many things that you cannot, but this is one of the items that we can do that. All right? So today we are turning our Espanol sauce into beef stroganoff. All right, beef stroganoff to me is like nurturing and like stick to your ribs, soulful, wonderful meal as it gets. And it's a very interesting dish in our pop culture. Beef stroganoff, I guess you could say it originated from Russia. And I believe it was named after a Count Stroganoff. And originally it was thin slices of beef tenderloin simmered in a brown mushroom sauce. Now, over time, like a number of dishes that are out there, it's kind of morphed into a lot of different things. And every kind of culture, geographical area has their rendition of beef stroganoff. So what I'm sharing with you today is basically how I recall learning how to make this dish as an apprentice at the Balsams Grand Resort in Dixonville Notch. Okay, shout out to Russ Anderson, the buffet master, was one of the guys who showed me how to make beef stroganoff.
I'm the dude, man.
And this is like as close to my recollection to how he would have made it, but maybe a little more fundamental for this, educational lesson as opposed to, making beef stroganoff for 500 people who are coming in on your lunch buffet or your dinner buffet. But anywho, beef stroganoff is a wonderful dish. We're going to take a look here in a second at our mise en place. And this dish is actually going to go together very quickly. All right? Keeping in with that theory that, hey, our mother sauces are here to turn into something else quickly. All right? But you could almost use any type of brown sauce to make beef stroganoff. I'm just choosing to turn our Espanol into it. In fact, we used to take many different classical derivatives of brown sauce that maybe we had a quart or two left over from a dinner service, or we had, an onion brown sauce, or we had a marsala sauce, and just kind of little quantities. And in order to stretch those further, we can turn that into a giant batch of beef stroganoff for a 400 house count lunch. Okay. Coming in on the mise en place cam here, okay. Here's our brown sauce, okay. We also have some minced herbs here. We have fresh thyme, we have some dill, some minced garlic, thinly sliced julienne shallots. We have some grain mustard, sour cream. That is an essential ingredient in beef stroganoff. Essential. Some thinly julienned onions. Okay, a little bit of beef stock, only if we need it. All right. Our beef that we're using there was a great deal on bone-in sirloin steaks, $5.88 a pound. It's a smoking deal, so we went with those. And then we have some cremini mushrooms here that we've slivered, and then we have here is some oyster mushrooms, some baby oyster mushrooms. Those are a wonderful mushroom. They call them oyster mushrooms because they kind of resemble, the ear of the mushroom kind of resembles an oyster. And then we're serving our beef stroganoff with egg noodles. Egg noodles are probably the most popular thing in the United States to serve beef stroganoff with. Any type of a noodle or a thin dumpling like a spätzle would be certainly appropriate as well. But in America, when we think beef stroganoff, we think egg noodles, all right? And egg noodles are dirt cheap, all right? I love egg noodles. I used to boil them up when I was a kid, and just with a little bit of granulated garlic and butter on there, and that would be a great lunch. I mean, actually, I ate that 2 nights ago for dinner. Who are you kidding, Matthew? Now, that being said, we have a pot of simmering water back here. That's going to be to cook our egg noodles in. Now, with any type of a pasta, you always want to salt it. So we're going to put a little salt in here. And we always say that when we're cooking any type of pasta, or even if it would be some type of a dumpling, and green vegetables that we may be blanching, or any vegetables we may be blanching, we want this water to taste like the sea, okay? Salty like the sea. All right, there's a number of reasons for that. Mostly it's so the seasoning and the flavor actually gets all the way through the dry pasta, and it's not just over salted on the outside, on the exterior. Perhaps we can talk about, when we get back to school next year, for those of you who don't know, the scientific reasons behind salting water in regards to green vegetables. All right, so I'm actually going to taste the water. Salty like the sea, perfect, but not too salty. We also have here, this is a sautoir, okay? Not to be confused with a sauté pan. Sautoir pan, sauté pan. Sautoir pan, sauté pan. Sautoir pan, sauté pan. All right, now, I learned a valuable lesson on the last video that I made with my brand new webcam that I'm filming on right now. I cannot let it get too close to the stove. All right, it was the steam and all the moisture and the vapors coming out of the pots that was really clogging up the audio on this. So I learned a valuable lesson. All right, and I guess I was being stubborn now that I had this cam on my nice little mobile tripod, but I'm actually going to be exclusively using this guy for all my up close and personal footage. Now, there's going to be a couple of stages in how we do this. Not everything's just going to go into the pot and then stay in the pot or the pan. The beef is going to go in, and then it's going to come out there so it doesn't get overcooked, all right? The beef is going to be the first thing that we get going, and we're just going to salt, pepper, and then just a little bit of olive oil, brown that off into a nice, beautiful brown on those tips, okay? Should we then leave them in the pan and start adding our other ingredients, those tips are going to be completely overcooked. Now, in an application like this, we're not cooking our beef to any certain degree of temperature. We're cooking it through, but not dry. All right, just because something's cooked all the way doesn't mean it needs to be dry and shoe leathery like a stereotypical well-done steak or hamburger. It can be cooked through and still be very moist and luscious and delicious and have that great balance of the actual protein flavor and a little bit of the residual fat, okay? Now, as you can see here, I've spread out our beef tips on this pan. That way I know I can get a good even disbursement of the salt and pepper. And you can also see that I left some of the fat on there. Not a ton. I only left the amount of fat on that's really going to render out and soften up. All right, and then just kind of give you that little bit of like creamy fattiness on the end of the tip and not that gross, gnarly gristle you get on like roast beef you don't like or just a really bad steak from a low budget restaurant. Okay, that's good fat to keep on there. Right, so we're going to season this up. I got a fresh pepper grinder all preloaded here, all right? Ocean State job lot, great deals up there, great deals. All right, so our pan is smoking hot. I turned the exhaust fan on over here. Let's hope I don't smoke this place out and turn on the fire alarm again. I am so sick of that thing. But let's give it a shot here. Hot pan, hot fat. Beef goes in, beautiful sear, okay? Uh-oh, this is going to be bad. This is going to be bad. I even have a window open. Okay, right into our saupois. Oh, we got a runaway here. Okay, now we are going to let those beef tips sleep in that pan. We're not going to move them around. We're not going to jiggle them. We're going to let them get that beautiful golden brown crust. All right, and really just absolutely make that beef dynamically change in what its flavor would be if this was just simply steamed or boiled or, you know, cooked without fundamental love and care. All right, so we're going to let these things sleep in the pan, all right, and when they're ready to go, we'll be back. All right, we're gonna go back in and check out these tips. They might be ready for a little flipping. Oh, look at those. All right, let's take a look at that. That is what I'm talking about. So we don't need to shake the hell out of this pan. We're just gonna try and do our best to flip over these little tip pieces and get that flavor on both sides, all right? Because that's where all the love is. All right, again, you can never sacrifice fundamentals and think you're going to achieve great flavor. All right, fundamentals equate to flavor. All right, treating the food properly, treating it with the due respect that we should. All right, this animal sacrificed itself for us, you know. But I mean, I'm a believer that hey, there's certain animals on God's green earth that their purpose in the food chain is to be food for somebody else. But you know, this animal died for us. Treat it with love and respect. Season it well. Treat it well. Cook it well. All right, and be gentle to it. All right, care about your ingredients. Care about your food. All right, that's truly the sign of an artisan. Somebody that really works with their hands. All right, so you can see they're all browned up really good, and we're going to give those probably another 90 seconds to 2 minutes and let them get really nice and brown there. All right, and then we're going to remove those from the pan and start our next step. All right, so our beef tips are pretty much ready to come out of that pan, all right? I got a fresh pan because I don't want to put the cooked ones back on the pan with the raw ones. So I changed it out, and this is going to be our landing zone to hold our tips for the time being. And to catch all the juice that may come out of them, because we're going to put that back in the sauce because there's a ton of flavor in that. So we're going to set these guys aside, and when we need them, we're going to pull them back out. Now, in the meantime, the mushrooms, the cremini mushrooms, are the first thing that's going to go in. If you remember back to our pasta bolognese, all right, lesson, we had mushrooms in there, and we allowed those mushrooms to cook and get golden brown. So they just didn't turn into these spongy, nasty little hunks in our dish, okay? Do justice by the mushroom, all right? So the mushrooms are going to go in. And we may need to add a little bit more olive oil, not a ton, to our pan because we don't want this to stick. Now, when I was at the store shopping for the beef that I wanted, I didn't really see what I was looking for, okay? And you may wonder, well, what were you looking for? In reality, what I was looking for was like cheap beef tenderloin tips or small pieces, but couldn't find them at the store, and even went to a special market, didn't see any there. So that's why I just ended with the sirloin. All right, here's another one that I plan on putting on the grill in a few days. All right, if you can see there, $5.88. That's a smoking deal. All right, I don't know. I have no idea what they are talking about when they're saying, "Oh God, the beef prices are astronomical." I bought the cheapest sirloin steak and the cheapest ground beef that I've bought in probably 6 months yesterday. Yesterday, May 10th, okay? As in Mother's Day, yesterday, I bought that, all right? That's a smoking deal any time of the year, certainly now, all right? So there's plenty of deals out there. You just need to know and look for them, all right? So I like the sirloin steak because it has a nice balance of marbling in here. And by marbling, that's the internal fat composition in the muscle of the beef, okay? I know that fat equals flavor. We all know that now. We should. I think I've written it in about 4 of these lessons, all right? Fat equals flavor. But also, too, this particular cut of beef is, it's tender. It's rich. It has a great flavor to it. Not all cuts of beef taste the same, folks. Just because it's off of the steer doesn't mean every single piece tastes the same. They do taste differently. And it has a nice balance of the good fat that we want as well. So I didn't really feel guilty sacrificing a beautiful steak and cutting it into tips because I know we're doing justice by it. All right? But what you shouldn't do is buy a stewing beef or a braising beef and then thinking you can make beef stroganoff out of it. It requires a longer cooking time. And since this is a dish that cooks real quick, we needed a beef that was going to be still tender and cook real quick. So that's why we went with the sirloin. Now we're going to take a look in our pan here, and you're going to see in the process of cooking those beef tips, we started to developing that magical 4-letter word we learned, fond. You can see it down there in the corners, okay? Little specks of brown. Now we need to be careful. We don't want that to turn black and burn and then ruin our dish. So it's going to be very important for us to monitor, all right, the temperature of this pan. So right now I have it on about a medium, all right? And we're going to leave those mushrooms alone. But while the mushrooms are cooking, we're going to start our egg noodles, okay? So egg noodles, I have here, I don't know, about 2 cups worth, okay? So they're going to go in. Now, once the mushrooms are about halfway cooked, which they are right now, we're going to add our onions in. All right, that way the mushrooms and the onions are almost done around the same time. If you've learned anything from our lessons here so far, folks, it's that not every single piece of food cooks at the same time. So they need to go in different stages, okay, in order to get our desired outcome and to draw the most flavor out of our foods. All right, we need to make sure that we're putting them in the right time, in the right order. That's very important, all right? So the onions are now going to go in. Now our shallots, which are considerably thinner, we're going to put those in when the onions are close to being done, and that's also we're going to add our garlic as well. All right, so you may have been wondering, well, Chef, what about them shallots and garlic? Well, now you know. They're going in later. Hi, me again. One thing we can't forget in this, again, we season as we go, always just a little bit every step of the way, because that's good fundamental cooking. All right, so we're going to hit it with a little bit of black pepper. I just put a dash of salt in there, and we're about, I don't know, 35, 40 seconds from the shallots and garlic going in. Boom. Look at those. All right, onions are starting to caramelize. Our mushrooms are browning up nicely, okay, which means that we're ready for our shallot buddies are going in, okay? And let's not forget Mr. Garlic. Now, garlic is definitely not one of it's not one of our starting players on the roster here. If anything, they're kind of like a bench player. They're here to complement and accentuate, but it's not really the star of the show like some other dishes, all right? But I'm a believer that this particular dish should be fundamentally less good if it didn't have just a little bit of garlic in it. Now, folks, I am going to hit this with a little bit of beef stock, and here's the reason why, all right? The Espanol, it's too thick to release the fond off of the bottom of that pan. Now, I could use water, but instead of diluting the flavors, we can add to them with a little more beef stock, all right? If you don't have beef stock, then fine, just a little bit of water to loosen that off of the bottom of the pan, but allow that water to evaporate and go to, do we remember the term? Sec, but don't let the bottom of the pan brown again, because then you would have defeated the purpose of deglazing the pan with the water to lift off the fond. You just recreated the fond. All right, beef stock going in. All right, not a ton, just a little bit. Okay, that was probably a half a cup. All right, now we're also going to hit this with one of my favorite secret weapon ingredients in certain types of cuisine is Worcestershire sauce. Just a couple dashes of that. Yes, Worcestershire sauce. Why some people cannot figure that out is beyond me, but I'm originally from Massachusetts. I know, I apologize. I've been apologizing for 28 years. I've lived in New Hampshire, but there's a town called Worcester that everyone calls Worcester. Well, it's Worcester, all right? And it's because of it's either Worcestershire area or county in England, all right? Most of our towns in America, and certainly those here in New England, all have roots in the United Kingdom, towns from England and Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and so on, all right? So we're going to take a look here and see how we're doing. All right, might be time to switch over to a rubber spatula because we avoid the metal on metal crimes around here, okay? And use that to help lift off some of that fond you could see, all right? Now we got the majority of it off. There's still some there, but that's gonna come off, all right? And you can see that that's cooked down, all right? So our next step now is we're going to add our cold Espanol sauce, all right, and allow that to come up to a simmer, all right? See, there it is. Now our egg noodles are fully cooked, all right? Well, not fully cooked, the magical term being al dente, all right? So, yep, good to me. We're going to strain these off. And we're going to hold those warm on the back burner, all right? We're going to toss those in with the sauce. A lot of people just pour the beef stroganoff over the top of them. I just find that to be lazy. Like we learned about with pasta bolognese that we turned our tomato sauce into, is that pasta should always be coated in a little bit of the sauce. That's doing it justice and treating it with respect, all right? And that's exactly what we're going to do here today, even with the lowly egg noodle, all right? Even with the lowly egg noodle. Now, I told you this was going to come together quick, all right? And when I mean quick, I'm going to be eating in 10 minutes, all right? And that probably includes 3 minutes talking to you guys after the dish is done. So we're ready for our finishing touches here on this dish. All right, so now it's time for our beef tips to re-enter the party, all right? They've just been resting over here. I'm going to taste one. Whoa! That's delicious! All right, so we're going to get these right in the pan. Now, as that beef starts warming up in this sauce, okay, now it's time to cook our garnish mushrooms, all right? We're just going to put a tiny touch of oil in there. And I'm actually going to take and add a little bit of butter, all right, and do it together. Whoa, whoa, we're flaming. Get those mushrooms in there. Put that flame out. That's going to make great video. All right. Just a little bit of salt in there. There's enough black pepper in the sauce. It doesn't need any. Okay. All right, but now it's time for us to put our dill in our stroganoff sauce there. The dill should always be the last thing to go in, and the reason for that is it's such a delicate flavor, all right? If it sits too long, it's going to lose all its dilliness, okay, in this context at least, and it's going to turn brown, but it's got a nice bright green here at the end, all right? All right, so these mushrooms are like, those are perfect. See how they got nice little crisp brown on there? That's exactly what we're looking for. So we're going to kill the heat on those. All right. Now, our egg noodles. It's time for them to come back into the party, all right? So here's what we're going to do. Like I said, it's not all going in, but some's going in, all right? So by some, means, I don't know, like a couple ladles full, just to toss those egg noodles, and then we'll put some on the top, all right? You don't want to serve naked pasta. We've already gone over this. We've gone over it earlier in this video, and we went over it with bolognese sauce, and we talked about it in class, and we talked about it last year, and we talked about it in Intro to Culinary class, all right? So that's one that should really be kind of drilled home with you by now, all right? So we're going to be back here in a second, and we're going to show you how to plate it up. Oh, no, again! I'm going to put that out, and then we'll be back and finish this up. I'm going to put that out, and then we'll be back and finish this up. All right, now it's time to taste to make sure everything's good, all right? So we're going to start off with our garnish mushrooms here. Righteous. Love it. Okay. We're starting to come into spring mushroom season. Not quite yet, but I would say another 4 to 5 weeks, we're going to start seeing the first of our spring mushroom sprouts. All right. Albeit very rare around here, you do see morel mushrooms. All right. But morel mushrooms are more commonly found in like the upper Midwest and the Pacific Northwest than they are around here. But in about 5 weeks, there are going to be golden chanterelles all over the place out in the wooded areas of northern New Hampshire here, okay? And it's really awesome that we have that natural resource right here in our backyard, all right? I'm too lazy to forage for mushrooms, all right? Going to tell you, guilty is charged. But I know a lot of people that do. And what a wonderful way to be able to source your food by just going out in the woods and looking for it, all right? So we're going to taste now our noodles with just a little bit of our sauce, all right? See those? Ooh. Dynamite. Lastly, just a little bit of our beef and sauce, all right? Yeah. Steaming. Willie beaming. Delicious. that doesn't need anything, all right? So now we're going to plate it up. I'm going to have enough here, guys, that I'm going to be rocking some beef stroganoff for probably a solid 2-3 lunches this week. And then a good bit of our beef and mushrooms right over there on the top. Oh, good Lord. Doesn't that look spectacular, right? Okay. And now our special fancy mushrooms here. Right there on top. Just a nice way to add some value to this dish. I'm going to do a cost breakdown of this dish for you just to show you how cheap it actually is, all right? What I've actually made here would be a grand total of 4 portions. You're going to see it sporadically over the course of this lesson how much each thing costs. And then at the end, there's going to be a cost breakdown. And I'm just going to prove to you that you can eat good in the hood. All right, well, I say the hood because I live in the trailer park, and it's basically the hood of Whitefield. So, yeah, I'm eating good in the hood here. I'm knowing how to stretch my dollar. I'm being frugal. I'm being thrifty. I'm being smart. All right, wicked smart kid. All right, we're just going to give this just a couple of cold little lots of sour cream right on there, okay? That's okay. Think of it like the cold ricotta that we put on top of our bolognese, all right? Oh, no! Man down. Okay? Or think of it like a little bit of grated cheese on top of something, all right? We're taking a flavor that was already there and we're enhancing. Same thing with our dill fronds, all right? Get those on there. And I'm going to tell you, folks, now we were talking about some absolutely dynamite beef stroganoff here. And I'm trying to recreate a picture from my good friend Chad's apprentice logbook where he had our friend Russ Anderson holding a plate of beef stroganoff in his logbook picture that he submitted to the chef as evidence of competency. So I'm going to go put a dent in this thing, and I might not eat it all now. This is pretty early for dinner for me. It's, 5:18. I usually eat dinner around 7:18. But I'm going to go put a dent in this, and I really look forward to seeing all you guys out on the porch soon, all right, out doing some grilling and chilling, all right? Hope you guys had a great weekend, and finish line's coming close here, folks. Seniors, you folks only have, 3 weeks left? Underclassmen, 4 weeks left? Now is not a time to be stumbling, folks. All right, now is not a time to take your foot off the gas. Now is the time to put your foot on the gas, rip it up, do great work, and end on a great solid note. All right? My career mentor used to always stress to me, he'd say, Matty, people always judge you on first and last impressions. You can ruin every great thing that happened in between if you had a poor first impression and a poor ending impression. So I'm going to really suggest to you guys to have a strong ending impression. All right? Do your best. Okay? First impressions and last impressions, all right? They can really make or break your career, and that's just good advice, as a lot of you are entering college or the workforce after school. And you underclassmen, you guys, some of you guys are out there getting, and gals are going for your first job. All right? The last week of work before you leave to go back to school is no time to take your foot off the gas. All right? You career people or career-oriented people, when you resign a position to move on to a more lucrative position, all right, at a different company, the last thing you want to do is slack off your last week on the job because you're not going to be able to use that place as a reference. All right? You're not going to be able to rely on them to have your back to help push you forward in any way they can later on in your career. All right? So, guys, pedal to the metal, no messing around, all right? Rip it up, take care of business, and next week, or maybe even the end of this week, we're going to see you on the grill, all right? Until then, why don't you just keep cooking good. Peace.